Hello everybody and welcome back to a long lost series, the DCS World series. And today, as I'm preparing to get back into DCS World and bring it back to the channel, we are going to be taking a look at creating custom snap views. There's a lot of discrepancy and a lot of uncertainty of how these work, and today hopefully I'm going to clear that up so you can enhance your DCS World experience. Okay, so we are sitting here in the cockpit of the F-18. I'm getting ready to set up all my controls and things and decide, you know what, I'm going to work on my camera views first. Now, the custom snap views in DCS World, the documentation can be a little bit misleading. Some of the videos out there are a little old, documentation's a little old, some things have changed, some things have stayed the same. And so there can be a lot of confusion in how it really works. It actually took me a second this last time around. I just got done doing it with the F-16. It took me a minute to remember how the heck this all worked. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you guys through some control binds that you must have in order for this functionality to work. Now, here's the cool part about these custom views is it doesn't matter whether you're in VR or TrackIR, these views will still work. Okay, and then there's two ways in which you can use them. You can use them in a glance method, which for those of you who may not understand what I mean by that, if I press the A key, okay, let's say I custom view 1, I press the keybind for custom view 1. As long as I have those keys held down, I will get my view changed. But as soon as I let go, it's going to go back to the default view that we're seeing here. That's a glance view. And then we have the toggle view, which obviously complete opposite of that. I switch to custom camera view 1, and it's going to stay there until I switch it back to the default view. So we're going to walk through how to set both of these up and how to manipulate both of these in a way that can be beneficial to you. So let's get started by taking a look at the controls here. So the biggest things that we're going to need right off the bat, what is this? I don't know why that's there. Aircraft rudder left. No, we don't need keybinds for rudder. We don't need no stinking rudders. Anyway, actually we do. So the first one that we're going to be wanting to take a look at is if you go left win and 1, okay? These are the custom snap views. This is what we're going to be using to actually get to the different views once we have created them. Now, there's all of these aircraft have some default custom snap views, which we'll go over in just a minute. However, you're going to find that a lot of them are one of those things where you look at them and go, that's kind of odd, okay, right? And you guys will see what I'm talking about in a minute. Then the next one that we're going to need is control, and this is right control and num0. Cockpit panel view toggle. You're going to want to make sure you have that bound. Now you can bind the custom snap views and you can bind the custom view toggle to anything you want. Okay, that's not a requirement. And then you're going to want save cockpit angles. So you're going to want those 3 key binds set up. From there, we can go just about anywhere we want. So I'm going to show you guys how this all works. And then obviously the ability to manipulate the cameras. Actually, this is a good point. So to manipulate the cameras, you're going to want these view down slow, view right slow, view. Those are the, as long as it says view direction slow, that's what you're going to want for manipulating the camera. The other thing we're going to want here is zoom in slow and zoom out slow. This will allow us to change our forward position in the camera. So now let's get into how to actually set these up. So let's see here. First off, if you use Alt and C on your keyboard, you can move your mouse anywhere you want. Make sure you have a zoom configured. Okay, so let's take a look at how we're going to make all these work. First off, if you hit, by default, left Alt and C, Charlie on your keyboard, you can see that when we have the yellow target cursor up on our screen, we can manipulate all the controls in the cockpit. If you hit left Alt C again, you can now move your mouse around and change your cockpit. The other thing that I also recommend having zoom or mapped somewhere that's really helpful, I forgot to mention this. Let's go to Axis Commands. Is this bottom one here? Where are you? Zoom view. So this one here, map it to an axis, or you can just use the controls in and out like we talked about before. But it allows us to do. Oh, why are we bound over there? Look at that. I have no idea why that's set up there. So let's go and find that. Oh, you know what? It's my first time in the Hornet in a while. So let's go back there. We'll just do it now. No big deal. So we're just going to zoom that. Yep, there we go. Yeah, I don't know why that's set to that. I would not want that. Although that's actually pretty creative. All right, so anyway, now we can zoom in and out, and all of these positions are going to be saved. So this was cool. Okay, so I'm going to leave this up for now. We'll probably just use the keyboard commands. And the first thing we're going to do is hit left win and 1. Okay, so this is the glance view. Notice when I let go, it goes back to the view. So this is, again, left win 1, left win 2, left win 3. I mean, you can see some of these views are a little odd. Okay, 4 is okay. That's 6. 5 you want to leave. That's typically your forward view, but we could at least alter it a little bit. 7, 8, and 9. Okay, so kind of goofy, right? So now let's create one that we want. Oh, you know what? Let me show you one more thing. So now if we hit Control and 0, so I just showed you guys the glance views. I'm going to type right Control and numpad 0. The camera does change, but now I'm only going to hit the numpad. So numpad 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, etc. Notice that they stick. They stay. Okay, I am not holding down left win. This is just the numpad. And then to get out of this, Control 0 again, and I'm back to the default view. And then if I use the numpad, all it's going to do is pan the camera around. But if I hit left win and 1 again, it goes back to that view for as long as I hold those keys down. So now let's take a look at changing some of these. So let's start with, we're going to do left win and 5. Well, here, let's set up our camera first. So I want to set up my default view. So I'm going to hit right Control, right Shift, and 2. It's going to bring my camera down a little bit. I like to see, well, actually maybe right about there. I'm also going to hit just the, let's see here, is it backslash? Yep, backslash just a little bit. Zoom out just a bit. I like to see a bit more of the cockpit. Okay. And let's say I wanted this to be my default view. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit, or default snap view. So we'll talk about that in a second. So I'm going to hit left win and 5 again. I'm just going to tap it. And DCS recognizes that the last snap view that I edited, or that I went to, was this center view. So now I'm going to hit right Alt and numpad 0, and that saves the view on custom view 5. So remember before, the view was very, very close up to the HUD. So now if I, for example, let's just move the camera around a little bit, and I hit left win and 5, there's the view that we just saved. Let's do another one. So I'm going to zoom us out, and let's see, what about the MFDs? Let's do the MFD. Well, here, let's take a look at the right panel actually first, or left panel. Left panel's a big one. Let's see, zoom in here. Now, one of the big things that I always run into, and I'm going to move my camera position using the asterisk. I'm going to move forward a little bit, because what I actually want to see are the lights. Let's zoom out a bit. There we go. That centers that up. And I'm going to come down a little bit. So right Control, right Shift, and 2. That way we can see just about everything. I'm going to come forward a little bit more. So again, the asterisk. Oh, excuse me. Let me reset that. Asterisk and backslash or forward slash by themselves on the numpad are zooms. If I hit right Control, right Shift, and asterisk on the numpad, I actually move the camera. Okay, so I'm not zooming, I'm actually moving the camera forward. And then now you can see, for example, if you look at the formation and position lights, we can see much more of the rotary. And that's what I was looking to do. And then now I'm going to use that axis I bound to zoom in. We're not going to use that mic switch, but we're going to try to keep it in the shot. Just like that. Now, remember, I want to change this. I'm going to make this my number 1 snap key. So I'm going to hit left win and numpad 1. Okay, so now DCS knows that was the last snap view that I went to. Now I'm going to hit right Alt and 0 to overwrite that view and save this one. So there we go. So now if I go to 5, for example. Okay, we went up there. Actually, let's just center the view. There we go. And if I hit Control 0 to go into that toggle mode, and I press just numpad 1, there's my view that we just created. And then there's our center view that we created earlier with just pressing numpad 5. And then to come back to the normal default view, Control 0 again, left win and 1 for a glance view, left win and 1 for our glance view number 5. But every time we let go, it's going to go back to where we were. So let's just keep moving around here. So now I'm going to start taking a look at the right panel. Let's see what we got down there. There's really not a whole lot that we have to worry about with the right panel, but we'll do it anyway. So again, I'm going to move the camera forward. And I'm going to move the camera down. And maybe something like this, right? It's pretty good. We got the canopy switch, all that good jazz, all of our lights, ejection sheet. We can save this one. So now I'm going to quickly type left win and 2, numpad 2. Okay, so DCS knows that was the last camera selected. Right alt and numpad 0 to save the view. Control 0 to go into the toggle mode. I don't want to be in glance mode. And there's 1, there's 2, and 5 for our center view. And we can do this with any view that you want. So the last thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to set up the 2 MFDs because I like to get in nice and close on those. So let's do that real quick. Oh, and that's default view 5. So we don't want that. So Control 0 to get out of the snap view. 5 to center our camera. Control Shift and numpad 4 were default commands to pan to the left. Control Shift, numpad 2 to come down. Control Shift and asterisk to move the camera forward. And then our zoom axis to actually zoom in. If you don't have a zoom axis set up, it will be the asterisk or / on the numpad without Control and Shift. And then we can just use our mouse to sort of tweak it. And you know what's actually really helpful? I'm going to give you guys a tip with this. I just thought about it. Let's move our camera over a little bit. Keep as much as you can. So let's, I'm going to back out, zoom out just a little bit. I do recommend as often as possible. So something like that. Keep the, I am drawing a blank. The CDU right there in front of us with the numpad and the screens. I do not know why I'm drawing a blank. That's not what it's called, but I can't remember what it's called right now. Anyway, but keep that in your view. So let's go Alt-C here. So keep this in the view because very often you're going to be manipulating one of these 2 screens with this, right? So it's very handy to have them both in the same view. So let's zoom in a little bit. We're going to get as much in as we can here. Brightness and things like that, those are probably going to be set before you actually start playing with the controls. Might be in a little too close there. There we go. Want to make sure we have all those OSBs. And remember, numpad keys will tilt the camera one direction or the other. Control Shift and numpad actually moves the camera. So there we go. I like this one. This is perfect. So we already did 1 and 2. Let's call this number 3. So I'm pressing left win and 3 using the default key commands. Right alt and 0 to save the view. And let's just move on over to the right MFD. So we should be able to more or less just sort of pan it over. It's not going to be quite 1-to-1. Let's back out just a bit. But like right there, there's another good one that we could probably keep. So let's just call this one. Let's do left win and 4. Right alt and numpad 0. 5 to center our view. And I'm just going to reset our zoom. There we go. And then what we'll do here in just a second is test it all out. So now let's do Control 0 to get back into the toggle mode. There's view 1, 2, 3, and 4. Oh, you know what? We should probably throw the central MCD. That one's actually even harder to see. Or MFD. Multifunction color display. MFCD, thank you. So Control Shift. Oops. Make sure we're clicked on the screen here. Oh, looks like that's as far down as we can go. Oh, it's because we're in that. Never mind. Control Z. Control 0 to get back to our view. And then again, Control Shift and 2. Control Shift and asterisk to move the camera. Numpad 2 to tilt it down. Backspace gets rid of the flight stick. It's very helpful for this particular thing since we don't have the ability to peek your head around. And however you want to have this set, I think I'm going to do something like this. Let's pretty good for what I'm looking for. And again, so let's do, I don't want to change number 5. That's our default view. That's our central view. So I'm going to do left Win 6, give that a tap. Right Alt and numpad 0 to save it. Control 0 to get into the toggle view. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Back to 5 for our default view. And if you have TrackIR or anything like that, it'll work just fine. Now, I'll demonstrate that for you guys here in just a second. Let me get the old TrackIR turned on. So give me 2 seconds here. Probably should get the headset on. That would be helpful. And starting up the camera service. Oh, you know what? This is what DCS does. It gives me trouble when I start it after DCS. So give me just a second. I'll be back with you guys and we'll demonstrate that it works in the TrackIR mode as well. All right, so I had the TrackIR working. Okay. Now we can still do left Win and 1, for example. Oh, wait, nope, sorry. Disregard that. Oh, there it goes. I was clicked out of screen. Now notice my TrackIR is not paused, but the camera is locked down. This is the snap views are static, okay? Which again can be really freaking handy. So if I do Control 0 again, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay, etc., right? Get rid of the stick. And then we do Control 0 again. We're back in free track mode with the camera, and we're free to move it as we wish. Okay, now with TrackIR, the advantages, you can pause TrackIR. So, I mean, we could probably just do this, zoom in, and boom. So it really depends. Where this is really going to be cool is I'm going to show you guys one other thing, and that is how to use it with VoiceAttack. Okay, so let's take a look at that, because that's where the advantage with TrackIR comes into play. All right, so now I'm going to show you guys how this all works using VoiceAttack. So VoiceAttack, for those of you who may not be aware of it, is a voice-to-text system, essentially. So what it does is you can execute verbal commands, and it will, in then turn, replace it with keyboard commands. So, for example, what I want it to do is I want it to, when I say a certain command, I'm going to have it, it's going to press Control 0 for us, and then it's going to press the associated snap view. So, for example, if I say left panel, there. Now, I have to say that same command again to exit it. But so I can also say left panel, left screen, right screen, right screen. So the biggest thing to realize with, and this is just a very quick example of how this all works. The biggest thing with VoiceAttack that makes it so cool is that you can set up all kinds of different sequences, and you can basically do just about any command, and you can get very, very advanced with it. What I'm displaying here is a very, very high level and minuscule demonstration of what this software can actually do. It can do a ton of things. And there are some really incredible scripts out there and pre-made commands that are out there for DCS World, especially. You can find it all over the Digital Combat Simulator website under user files. There's a ton of great VoiceAttack profiles. But that just gives you one example of how you can use these custom snap views to really enhance your gameplay experience, especially if you're someone who doesn't have a ton of controls, ton of buttons and things to map. VoiceAttack really helps with this particular section. The nice thing about the snap views and be able to make the custom views is it really makes it a lot easier to manipulate the cockpit very, very quickly, especially once you start figuring out the best ways to bind things, right? So anyway, guys, I hope you've enjoyed this little tutorial. I hope it cleared up some questions for you guys. Maybe some of you who haven't been able to figure this out, hopefully I was able to answer some of these questions for you. Be sure to continue watching, guys, as we have a ton more DCS content on the way. I have missed my birds here. My next step here is I'm going to get all of my controls remapped for my Hornet here, and we're going to get airborne and start doing some damage out there. We have some Viper videos coming up. We're going to be doing some operations, custom built missions, things like that. We're going to be doing all kinds of fun stuff on the channel with DCS. If you guys are into Digital Combat Simulator, please stick around, guys, and hopefully you'll enjoy the content that I produce. For those of you who are unaware, Digital Combat Simulator is exactly what it sounds like. As a little disclaimer here, Digital Combat Simulator. There will be explosions, live ordnance used, etc., things like that, birds crashing, bombs blowing up, vehicles being blown to pieces. So please make sure that you watch for the differences between Microsoft Flight Simulator and DCS World. I always make sure to do a very large splash screen on the thumbnail. That way you can very easily distinguish between the two. I have had people in the past who were not prepared for the damage and destruction that comes along with DCS World and who weren't preferably looking for that kind of content. So I do want to make sure you guys are aware of what DCS World is. Anyways, guys, as always, stay safe and healthy, and I'll see you in the next one.